what are the restrictions to your free will there? Are there any?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, in the sense that you could, I don't know, you could do things in the belief no one is watching. So I don't know what someone might do. What is on the desert island? If you know, you might climb a tree
Yeah,
and take some apples or something like that,
yeah,
even if it were not technically allowed on the mainland. But yeah, I don't know. I think you'd be
yeah,
very focused on how you are going to survive. If you're going to try and make contact with the outside world, you'd be thinking of all sorts of things that you might do to either get yourself out of that situation or whatever. But yeah, it's a good question. You know,
yeah.
you would feel you had free will to make decisions.
I'm sure you'd feel like, there's no limit to what I can do here. Well, there would be limit to what you can have, but there's no limit to what you can do with what you have. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, so you could basically do anything. You could do somersaulting, and if you broke your neck, you know,
you'd be in trouble.
even
But again, that kind of touches on you're talking of a situation where you're on your own. But in society, we've got
right.
this cycle of life. And this is another element that kind of impacts on our so called free will. You know, we're born, we're brought up, hopefully in a decent way to be decent people.
Yeah,
But then society sort of takes over. We have an education, we go to school or college or whatever, and we're taught to be to observe the rules. We're not
yeah,
to break the rules. And
yeah,
yet in life, sometimes seems that people who are prepared not to break laws as such, but to break the rules of normality,
yeah,
actually achieve, you know, much more in their lives. Um, you could say people call it the matrix, you know, the cultural, political things that develop.
right.
It decides at some point to give us our first drug, which is a salary, which is a wage. And of
Yeah,
course, once you're given a drug, life becomes a bit more comfortable. You may sacrifice some of your dreams. But
yeah,
again, thinking of drugs, somebody who smokes, for example,
yeah,
who their free will, they desperately want to give up,
yeah,
but they find they can't. So actually, the body, I won't say the brain, but something is causing a far more powerful impact on their free will than just the thought, I want to stop smoking. Now, people do.
yeah.
They can adopt an iron will to stop, but it is tough. And even the hard drugs that we hear about talk about, you know, are very difficult to break that addiction. So society gives us various drugs along the way. It makes life, if we work, you know, 40 hours a week, it makes life comfortable in the sense that you earn some money. But
Yeah.
there's a very real sense that, you know, the cycle of life involves populations being slaves from the minute, you know, from cradle to grave. We
Yeah.
are having to observe those rules, you know, and often people work 40 years or whatever and find they still don't have any spare money after all those years of work. But they've abided by the system, you
Yeah.
know, the matrix that's set out. So
Yeah.
if we're a bit more cynical, it
Yeah.
may be that we are much more programmed and controlled as to ruin our so-called free will than we actually realize.
Right. I think you might have a point there because, the moment I think you got me the moment you said you can work 40 years and still not have still have nothing to show for it.
But when I said that, I noticed you've been dropping off a bit, so it sort of woke you up when I said that. But, but yeah, it's true, isn't it? People, we all go through these same cycles, and it does sometimes. I mean, we are. This is an incredible planet, an incredible world, and
Yeah,
the fact that we're alive and breathing is a huge bonus, shall we say? It's an incredible thing to be part of. It
indeed.
doesn't mean, though, that we're not in some way being programmed. I mean, some thinkers have said over time that perhaps we're all pawns in someone's computer game. You know,
Yeah.
we're being controlled as to where we go, what we do, what we think.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you think some of the video games which are available on PlayStations, you could really think that you can make your characters think and do things that you are controlling. Sounds a bit far fetched. yeah, when you think some of the video games which are available on PlayStations, you could really think that you can make your characters think and do things that you are controlling. Sounds a bit far-fetched, and I'm not sure whether I go along with this Matrix idea, but there is a sense in which, particularly you could say when governments change, we may get a different feeling about, being controlled a bit, being told. I mean, in our society today, and it's probably been going on for a few years,
Yeah.
free will, we're much more restricted on things we can say, things we can do. We seem to be controlled to a greater degree than ever. Now,
Mm.
I'm not straying into a political side of things, but the evolution, if you like, of societies means that we have to be very, very thoughtful.
Yeah.
Television sitcoms, I don't know, 20 years ago, they probably will get away with saying a lot more stuff, nothing unduly terrible, but that nowadays you wouldn't be allowed to say. And I think it's right. There are some things we shouldn't be allowed to say,
Yeah.
but it does impinge increasingly, I think, on our free will.
Yeah.
So again, I sort of submit that I don't. I think our free will is nothing like as we think it is. I think
Yeah.
there's a lot more restrictions on what we can and can't decide for ourselves.
I think there's a lot more restrictions as well because obviously the society wants you to live in a way that conforms with, you know, it's 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 like they want you to conform. I think that's the
Yeah,
word.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Conform to the norm that is the norm that is obtainable in
Yeah.
in a wide range of communities. And once you start deviating from that norm, I think you get punished. There's a punishment for it, whether it's via seclusion, it might not be, well, it could be society, it could be social seclusion, where,
Mm.
certain people that that don't buy into your ideology tend to want to not mix with you. Where they
Mm.
just think, he's a nutter. He's not. Why can't you just be normal? Why can't you just be like everyone else? Get married, have kids, and just get a job. Get a steady means of income. But once you start going against that, it's like you're asking um, to be removed, sort of psychologically removed from everyone else, or symbolically removed from everyone else, I think. Um,
Equally, I agree with you. If we don't conform, we
yeah,
we can get problems. But it's so true to say that not everybody can instinctively fit through that narrow neck of the bottle. Not everybody wants those same things of, educate, well, we all want an education, but marriage, kids, and then finding your way eventually to retirement. And it can be nice for some people, but not everybody wants that. And I think
yeah,
that's where society doesn't always recognize that there's a wider spectrum of human desire and wish and hope than
yeah,
they actually allow us for, which again is where we might feel, very restricted in what we do and controlled. I
yeah,
mean, just one other aspect I was going to mention about free will.
yeah.
We often think we can say what we want, talking about that, but as an interesting one, sometimes our brain won't let us do it. Now, I'm going to ask you to say these are these sort of tongue twisters where
Right,
you
okay.
can't always say what you want. So, would you please say at a fair speed, 77 benevolent, 77 benevolent elephants? Oh, God, that's hard. 77 benevolent elephants. Can you try that?
Right, 77 benevolent elephants.
Once
Right,
more, I didn't quite get 77
that's
benevolent elephants.
77 benevolent elephants.
Yeah,
That,
it's good. It's very good.
yeah, you have to
But
take
you you
yeah,
go
you have to
on.
take a bit of a pause.
Well, yeah, because it's
Minute,
actually
otherwise,
if you just try to say it twice fairly
yeah,
quickly, go on.
yeah, 77 benevolent elephants, 77 benevolent. Yeah, I get what you mean now.
Right, okay, just
I,
right,
I get what you
just
mean.
another one. Say
Right.
toy boat
Toy
five
boat.
times, five
Toy
times
boat.
fast.
Toy
Toy
boat. Toy
boat.
boat. Toy boat. Toy boat. Toy boat. Toy boat.
Right, and the last one, I'm just trying to prove that even when we want to say something, we can't always
Right.
say it.
I'm,
This
a,
one, I'll have to
I'm,
read
a,
this
I'm
one.
afraid this is all we've got time for, Trevor.
Oh, okay. Then I'll save that one till next week. It may have got
Yeah.
Ofcom knocking, but
Yeah.
we will
But,
see.
yeah. So you've been watching and listening to the Alien Spaceship with myself, Emmy Hikins, and he calls me bruv.
And me, Trevor Gear, and he calls me Cuz.
Join us again next time. It's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.